Today we've got a matchup from hell. Yes, pun intended. It's a matchup of two really shitty reboots as 2019's Hellboy takes on 2024's The Crow on this episode of Film Face-Offs. Many people were critical of The Crow reboot when it was announced because of Brandon Lee's death with the original film, and I don't really see that as big of a reason for controversy, as more the fact that just the reboot was going to suck. Bill Skarsgård doesn't exactly do a terrible job in the role, but he has no screen presence to him, and it's not exactly his fault with the script he's given. It doesn't help that him and FKA Twigs, yes, that's the name she went by, have absolutely zero chemistry despite the character's relationship supposed to be the backbone of the film. The only other actor really notable in this film is Danny Houston, who plays the villain of the film, and he's barely in it, so he's barely worth talking about, but I guess he does fine. Hellboy may be bad, but the acting is actually not the problem at all. David Harbour is definitely a solid replacement for Ron Perlman. I think he does a fantastic job in the role. He definitely does better than Jack Kesey did in The Crooked Man that came out about a month ago. Mila Jovovich is the villain of the film, and her acting's on the over-the-top side, but it's a lot more fun than, say, yet again, the one witch from The Crooked Man. Ian McShane plays Hellboy's quote-unquote father, his adoptive father, and he does perfectly fine. Then there's some other actors like Sasha Lane is in this, and she does perfectly fine as basically Hellboy's partner. Apparently Thomas Hayden Church was in this trash heap, and I wouldn't have been able to tell you that just by watching the film. Hellboy easily wins this category because, again, the Crow's actors are not exactly bad, but they have no screen presence. So basically, Hellboy wins on David Harbour alone. The Hellboy remake has a story that sounds pretty cool on paper, but is kinda dumb in execution. A sorceress known as the Blood Queen has a plan to unleash hell on Earth. A millennia and a half earlier, she was defeated by King Arthur, and now it's up to Hellboy to defeat her before she can unleash the demons of hell upon the Earth. Even to the point where it has some pretty dumb moments, like him wielding Excalibur at the end of the film, and he doesn't exactly get to do much with it other than just kill the Blood Queen and send all the demons back to hell. I'm assuming this was a budgetary issue because the movie's budget was only about $50 million. And while the scene of the demons rampaging hell on Earth is kind of cool to look at and was one of the big pulls of the trailer for a lot of people, I do wish we could have gotten some big fight with them, or maybe they were trying to save that for a sequel that will now never happen because the movie bombed. I don't really know, but let's just say the movie is kind of a snooze fest for a majority of the time, despite the story being really interesting in concept. The Crow remake is one of the saddest fucking attempts I've ever seen at a superhero film since Steel back in 1997. Eric comes back to life to attempt to avenge the death of him and his girlfriend with the help of some guy in, I'm assuming what's supposed to be Purgatory, named Kronos. No, not the one from Greek mythology. I'm assuming. They never actually made that clear. And essentially the rest of the story is him just going around trying to find people that killed him and his girlfriend and killing them off. The story just absolutely disappears after the first half of the film, and the movie gets really, really boring. It doesn't help the action sequences aren't very good, and the character doesn't exactly have an arc. It's just a guy who comes back to life and kills people, and that's about it. None of these movies have a very good story, but once again, I guess Hellboy probably wins this one for having a better concept and probably having a stronger villain. The villain of The Crow wants to basically attain immortal life, which is something I've seen so many times. I mean, the sorceress trying to unleash hell on Earth isn't anything new either, but it is at least a bit more fun for a comic book film. This round is just sad. Hellboy has a couple of fights throughout the film, and usually they're up against some big CGI monsters, and while they're not exactly the best choreographed or shot, they are kind of turn-your-brain-off fun. And again, the rampage that the demons have near the end of the film is kind of fun to watch, just if you want some mindless violence. The fight against the giants is pretty interesting, even if the CGI is pretty bad, and that is something that holds this film back. is that while especially like the big rampage near the end of the film looks really good, when it comes to smaller battles like him fighting just a few giants in an otherwise empty field, the bad CGI really sticks out a lot more. There's some kind of luchador wrestling scene at the beginning of the film that's a little bit fun, but other than those fight scenes, there's really not that much action to be had here, and even the action we do get, again, isn't the most interesting. And again, I'm going to chalk that up to a budgetary issue. The Crow, I think, has one fight scene, and it's the Opera House battle, and it's so poorly shot and choreographed that it's not even worth going into. All the other quote-unquote fight scenes in this film are just a couple of hand-to-hand fights between him and a couple of people, or maybe a tiny shootout or something. And the villain is defeated so easily that it doesn't really feel like anything was accomplished by the end of the film. Both of these films are very lacking in the action department, and as I'm saying this, they're lacking in pretty much every department as well, so I guess it tracks. But again, I guess Hellboy wins for having more action, and at least having something resembling an action sequence more than once, and having a few kind of fun scenes to go along with it. Neither of these films have particularly memorable scores, let's put it that way. Hellboy's score is kind of cool at times. It's got some really cool tracks for the action sequences, but other than that, it was mostly forgettable. And then there's The Crow, which I'm not even sure had music outside of the credits. I'm sure the music was there, but mostly just kind of drowned out in the background, and none of it was very memorable. I don't even know why I bother to add this category for this one. So I guess Hellboy, and let's move on. On paper, this sounded like a very close matchup between two really shitty reboots, but in execution, it turned out this was another pretty lopsided matchup. Hellboy is not a good film. It's clumsy, it's messy, and the script is almost incoherent. But it does have some moments that are pretty fun. The Crow has absolutely nothing going for it. Stilted acting, a terrible story, and the main difference between The Crow and the Hellboy remake is that like I said, the Hellboy remake was at least trying to have fun. The Crow wanted us to take the movie so damn seriously, but I couldn't with the nonsensical story and terrible script. So for me, Hellboy gets the easy win here. I'm not sure. I honestly have no idea which way this is going to lean, but if I were to guess, I'd say Hellboy is probably going to take the win as well, but that's up for you guys. Make sure to let me know your thoughts and to vote on the community tab when it's posted, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.